All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started just so we can stay on time tonight. If I haven't had a chance to meet you, or if this is your very first time joining us, my name is Robert Roman, and I want to just take a moment to welcome you. I know you could be doing a lot of things with your time, and so we're happy you're here. We hope tonight is valuable for you. We're going to spend about an hour together. And we're going to be talking about something that I think is really, really important for us to all get better at, which is really increasing our cash flow and really managing and eliminating our debt. My background, by the way, I've been in the financial industry now for 20 years. February of the year 2000, 21 years old, I was invited literally to something very similar to this, and it really caught my attention. And so hopefully tonight there's some things of value. Like I said, that's really my goal, is to do that. Again, we're part of a national financial literacy campaign. We were on a goal by the end of this year to educate 1 million families. And I'm proud to bring the news to you that we've done that. And we're on a new goal, which is to bring financial education to 30 million people in the next 10 years. And so we're glad you're joining us. Some of you may have a workbook. Some of you may have this in a digital format. You may have printed that, you may not have printed that, that's okay. I really recommend you have it either printed or get with the person that invited you, and we can easily get you a hard copy workbook. I just feel like it's much more value for you to follow along and fill in the blanks and everything. So I am gonna share my screen, and we're gonna get the show on the road if that's okay. I'm fired up to be here. Give me one moment. Just configure the screen here because we are recording. So again, welcome to workshop number 1, our financial foundation education program. Again, and this is the early version of this program. There's some evolution coming, and we're gonna get started. So what I would like you to do is, if you could turn the page, and I'm gonna skip all the sign-in stuff because obviously we're normally doing this in person, but because of the COVID situation, maybe this works out better for being at home. And just real quick, we're going to go to page 4, just so you know a little bit about us. Why are we here? You know, why are we so passionate about this? Just to kind of fill you in on that. Our mission as an organization, as a community, is to build and protect wealth for families. Build it and then protect it, helping people move from financial insecurity to financial independence. Whatever that means for them. Everybody has their own definition of that. And our vision, very simple, is to build a new industry, a financial education industry. I think you would probably agree there's a lot of financial things in the world that people get involved with, don't have any knowledge about what they're doing, and it may not work out for them. And so we want to help solve the consumer's problem here. It says the dilemma, the lack of understanding, the lack of planning, and the lack of support. And our vision is to really build a new industry to do that. And we're truly excited to do that because, you know, in my limited life on earth, you know, it's never been a time like this with, you know, the COVID and all this stuff going on. We know it's affecting a lot of people. But again, we want to do it right, and we want to be proud about that. And so we're proud to share this with you as we get started. And so what I would like you to do is turn to page 6 of your workbook, and and it says Financial Goals Worksheet. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And it really, on the screen here, it says, congratulations. I do want to congratulate you because I want to kind of warn you before we get started. The things that we're going to talk about could be life-changing for you if you actually stick with them. I mean, I'll tell you, this is no different than a diet or a gym membership. And I hate to bring you the bad news because I know those things are hard. This actually might be a little easier than a diet now that I think about it. But we want you to take this serious. We want to say congratulations. So the idea for you to be able to control your future, you've got to be able to control your money, okay? This is the richest country in the world. We've got to be able to control our money by learning how this works. On page 6, this is just something, it's just a general sheet for you, and it says begin to establish your goals using the Financial Goals Worksheet. There's a lot of different categories on there, such as retirement, short-term savings, you know, different things that you may have goals for, and I challenge you to write them down. I really do. If you even don't have a workbook, get a sheet of paper and say, you know what, my goal is to pay off my credit card. My goal is to save 10 grand, or whatever your goals are, big or small. I challenge you to set some goals, because as we go through this, there's probably some things that we can do together to help you accomplish those much faster. So we challenge you to set some goals right from the get-go. And again, we're here to help. So workshop number one, all about turning spenders into educated savers. Okay. I love this little piggy bank on here. It says educated savers. Let me ask you a question. Let's just talk about a dynamic that I know has probably affected all of us. A lot of families have received a stimulus check of $1,200 per person if their taxable income is below a certain amount. And a lot of families, lost their jobs, and that money was needed. Like, it was a necessity, and it's like, thank God that was available. But I want you to think about the people who didn't lose their job, who didn't necessarily need that stimulus. Where did that money go for a lot of people? And don't get me wrong, a lot of people have saved it, but a lot of people found a reason to upgrade their iPhone or do something like that. So again, turning spenders into educated savers is our strategy here. So we're gonna start filling in the blanks like we did in the 3rd grade. And we're gonna get started, okay? It says it isn't about how much money you make, but it's about how much you blank. Want to take a guess? Here's the answer. It's about how much you keep. I don't care how much your income is. As a matter of fact, your income isn't really relevant. It's about how much you keep at the end of the day. So I want you to really think about that as we go along. Here at WSB, we know that money isn't the greatest wealth. What's called applied knowledge. Do not mistake information for education, you guys. Do not mistake someone with a college degree. No offense to anybody with a college degree, but do not mistake that for education. In most situations, that's merely information. And I can say this with fact because the average person doesn't know how to apply most of what they've learned in college to make their life better or make the world better or whatever it might be. And so this is all about application, what's called implementation. Okay, if we keep eating a triple cheeseburger, come on, it's not good for us. You know what I mean? We gotta cut that thing out. We're gonna learn how to apply this stuff. So this is what we're gonna learn. This is the exciting part. We're gonna discover $100 to $200 that you did not know you had. My goal for you tonight is to leave here saying, hey, you know what? That was worth my hour. I got $100 out of it, and I'll have that $100 ongoing if you follow along with this thing. We're also going to discover the cost of wasting $6.60 a day. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, Starbucks, drive-through, whatever people are doing. It's a couple $100 a month if you run it out. We're also going to learn where our money's going, maybe for the first time in quite some time. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to understand some misconceptions in defining what's called assets and liabilities. That Mercedes, that Tesla, is that an asset or is that a liability? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to briefly discuss some tax advantages of being a business owner, you guys. It's the year 2020, and I'm asking everybody, what is your secondary source of income? You should have a side hustle, a side business. I don't care what it is. But there's a lot of tax advantages of that. And obviously, I'm going to share just briefly at the end about that. We're also going to see some potential of maybe earning money with us at World Financial Group. Again, I was an airplane mechanic, financial education. It made sense to me. I felt like if I could earn income and the company would pay me to teach people. So, we're going to spend about 3 minutes, literally very quickly at the end, because tonight's really about cash flow and debt. And so we're going to really get started right now. I hope you're ready. Okay, so to increase our cash flow, there are only 2 ways. And I want you to take a moment and I want you to think about it. How do you increase your cash flow? It's pretty simple if we think about it. Number 1, earn more money. Hey, boss, I want a raise. I don't know how effective that is, by the way, especially in this situation. That may not be very effective. Or maybe you can do something extra to earn more income. The other way is spend less. Those are the only ways, you guys. Ask yourself, what is easier, earning more or spending less? And I would say it depends on where you're at in your situation. Some people are spending as little as they can, and they just really need to make more money. I feel like most people don't have a money problem. They have an income problem. They live in America, and they just don't make enough. I'll tell you, I was watching the news this morning. I normally don't even get into this in the workshop. I was looking this morning at the increase of food prices in the United States the past 6 weeks. The average grocery item in your grocery store and my grocery store is up over 4% in the past few weeks. And meat products are up 18%, they're saying. And so we're seeing things really go up in this country, and it's going to be some challenges. So we've got to make these work for us, earning more and spending less money. So we turn to page 8, and there are 2 circles here that people live in. By the way, it's a choice. Everything you do is a choice. I once argued that, and I go, no, there's certain situations, it's not my choice. I believe you have a choice where you go in life. And circle A is very simple. The money comes in and they save first. What's called pay yourself first. Then they spend. They spend whatever's left. Very simple. People in circle B, they just do the opposite. They spend first, and then they make an effort, AKA an attempt to save. The reality is it doesn't work for most people, that effort. So the idea called pay yourself first is very, very, very critical. I would ask you this, the year 2019, that was about 6 months ago, we closed those books. 2019, how much income did you make? I want you to think about it. And out of all of that income that came into you, how much did you pay yourself? Because if there's not much left over, the answer is you paid everybody else first and you made an effort to save, and that's why it didn't work out. You didn't make it a priority to save. And so there's a pattern here. It's interesting. People in circle B typically work for people in circle A, their employer, their boss sometimes, a little bit more on the up and up when it comes to money. And so it's just really a mindset of a strategy of how you go about your spending and your saving. And so very simple. A, the income comes in, they save, they invest, they build wealth. People in circle B, they make money, they have debt payments. Immediately they have debt payments. They try to spend whatever's left over because they're working for the weekends, because their job, typically they're not happy about their job, so they're working for the weekend, and it leads to being broke. And I'm here to tell you, maybe that works for some people, but I don't know a lot of people in circle B that's working for. And so I challenge you just to think about that. Where are you in circle A or B? And so I found myself in circle B and I was frustrated. But the good news is, like my mentor, Jim Rohn says, Rob, the good news is you're not a tree. You can move. You can go wherever you want to go. When I had a chance to meet him before he passed, that stuff changed my life. So think about it. Let's find ways, you guys, to save more and spend less. That is going to be the theme as we go tonight, okay? Pay yourself first. We said that. Okay. Would you rather make a payment first to your family, your children, your future, and then spend what's left? Again, or spend first and try to save. We've lived in that world. It's very, very difficult to get ahead in that situation. And again, maybe tonight we'll begin a little bit of a change for you. And so on page 9, this is a worksheet called What Are My Daily Expenditures? And this would be my very first challenge for you. Actually, I should say my second challenge for you, because my first one was to set some goals. My second challenge for you is I would love for you for the next at least 7 days, realistically 30 days if you're serious about this, realistically, you got to do it for a month, is I would like you to document your spending. And you could use a sheet like this. You could use your smartphone with an app or something like that. But don't use your bank statement and just trust that to keep track of it. I would really like you to document it, because here's why. There's a little bit more power in an exercise like this when you document every time you go through a drive-through or buy a pack of cigarettes or whatever it is that you're spending your money on. Everybody's got their thing. And sometimes you realize that and you look, man, how much money am I spending getting a cup of coffee every morning? And how much money am I spending eating out 4 or 5 times a week or whatever it might be? And so this is something where you really come to earth and start to learn. It says, remember, if I purchase an item today and I charge it, AKA on credit, your credit card, can I pay it in full when the bill comes? If so, that's good, you guys. Do that, because there's no interest on your credit card. But if you're not doing that, that's trouble. It also says, have I saved 10% of this month's income yet? Some people may not be able to afford to do that, but you should be striving for at least 10%. It's really at least 10%, you guys. Strive for that. And again, if so, reward yourself. Have a little bit of fun, but don't have too much fun. You know what I mean? We're just getting started, okay? Let's not jump too far ahead. Did I spend my money wisely? Okay, maybe you think about this meeting as you're, maybe grabbing dinner tonight or grabbing lunch tomorrow or whatever it might be. Maybe you join this club and spend less money with us. So we're going to look for some money. Okay, my goal right now is in the next few minutes is to find $100 for you. I don't know if I can find you 200, but I think I can probably find you 100 if you really, really do this stuff. Okay, so let's talk about it. Number one. And by the way, these are all suggestions. I don't want you to get off this thing and go change your life and mess your situation up. Let's make sure you do that stuff the right way before you make any sort of changes. But number one, I want you to think about changing your federal tax deduction on your payroll with your job. And here's what I mean by that. Do you normally receive a tax rebate when you do your taxes? A lot of people do. Statistically, a lot of families receive money back when they do their taxes. And I get it. That feels good when you get that check. But I'm here to tell you, You're giving the government an interest-free loan for 1 year, and then they just rebate your money and they keep the interest. That's not wise of you to use your money that way. And so I would advise you to maybe think about it rather than get $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 rebate, especially if you have children. A lot of people get these credits. It's instead of getting a $2,000, $3,000 rebate, what if you made an adjustment, didn't get the rebate, but got an extra $3,000 divided up over 12 months, which is $250 a month additional in your income. Now, if you didn't have a plan for that money, that wouldn't be smart. But if you had a plan for that money as it was coming in, I'd be willing to bet you could start saving more money than you do right now. And that was something that caught my attention when I was in that situation. I haven't had a W-2 for almost 20 years, which is crazy. But when I used to get money back, I was like, I used to love getting that rebate. And then I learned that's not the right thing to do. So again, we can talk more about that. Number 2, eliminate or reduce premium cable, satellite, basic, television. Look, you guys, shop around if you have cable television. If you have DirecTV or those things, you can get a lot of this stuff through the internet now for way less money potentially. So I just really recommend, or maybe you eliminate that stuff. That TV is probably not doing you very good, but you might be able to find some savings on that. Number 3, consider a larger deductible on your auto insurance. For example, I'm 41 years old. I've never caused a traffic accident in my life. I'm knocking on some wood here. So check out this math. I started driving when I was 16. I'm 41. I don't know what that math is, but think about this. What would my cost savings have been if my deductible, because my deductible on my car was $500 forever, someone said, why don't you raise that to $1,000 and see how much money you'd save? Obviously, you got to have the $1,000 saved up if you have an accident. And the savings over a long period of time is significant. So if you're a good driver, again, you might want to get with somebody to help you with that, but you might want to look at adjusting your deductibles. Again, you got to have the money saved if you have a problem. So let's not screw that up. Number 4, reduce the number of lattes, alcohol, cigarettes. This may have been easy for some people because the bars have been closed or whatever, but find the area of your life that you're bleeding money into and just ask yourself, I don't want to cut that out. Maybe no one's going to ask you to cut it out, but could you maybe cut it back? I know what COVID has done for my household. It's like, man, we've been eating out way less just because of the logistical situation of you can't go get food anywhere. You got to take it all to go, and if we wanted to go get sushi in the past, it's not the same if you get sushi to go. I guess it is still pretty good, but you know what I'm talking about. It's not the same. Okay. So find something to cut back on in that category. Number 5, cancel your extras on your cell phone. Hey, you guys, it's 2020. Your cell phone bill should not be super pricey. Like I see so many people's cell phone bills and I go, what in the world are you doing? I've got an iPhone 10. My fiance has a fairly new Samsung phone through Verizon, unlimited stuff. And our cell phone bill total is like $109 a month or something like that for unlimited everything. And so there's ways to save money on things you have. You also may have access to some sort of discount based on where you work or things like that. Definitely some discounts on that realm. And one thing that's not on here that I would advise you, especially if you live in Tucson, for example, we have Cox Cable as our internet provider at our office here, as well as at our home. I tell you, I call Cox. Hey, is there any promotions to help out COVID? Oh yeah, Mr. Roman, here's a $20 credit for the next 3 months. So you can literally make a phone call and you can get some discounts by asking in that realm, okay? It's pretty important to do that. Number 6, this is a huge one. If you have some equity in your home, you may potentially be able to eliminate what's called private mortgage insurance. Many loans have this. Again, I'm not a mortgage expert. We have a lot of them that could help you in that realm, but private mortgage insurance is an additional insurance policy that you, the borrower, pays for, that you protect the bank in the event you default on your mortgage and you're paying for their insurance. That to me is a scam. I don't want to pay for your insurance, just like you don't want to pay for mine, but you're paying for the banks if you're paying for PMI. So if you have a mortgage, maybe look at your statement and see if you're paying for this already, because there's some ways potentially to get it removed. Number 7, if you have a cell phone, get rid of your home phone. I don't know, maybe you don't have a home phone. Some people still do. That's somewhat common sense nowadays. You save a lot of money on that maybe. Number 8, if you own a product called accidental death insurance, I'm going to make a very bold statement, you guys. Cancel it. It's not life insurance. Stop misleading yourself and misleading your family that you own life insurance if you own a product called accidental death and dismemberment. It's not life insurance. It's accidental death insurance. marketed as life insurance because people buy it, because people sell it. So I'm here to tell you, and by the way, next week, workshop number 2 covers that stuff. And so that's something that normally people say, yeah, it's a ripoff. You're not going to get your value in that. So you can potentially cancel that and save some money. Number 9, if you have anything financed, cars, boats, houses, whatever, guys, today, I think it literally was today. By the way, today was the 4th worst day in the stock market in human history. Today, it's crazy. A lot of people didn't know that. But because of that, interest rates on mortgages, 30-year mortgages, dropped below 3% for the first time in history today. So if you have anything that is financed, man, you should have a good interest rate. Now you may say, well, Rob, I got bad credit. Okay, that's another story. But if you have good credit, by the way, if you got bad credit, let's work on that. But if you've got good credit, take a look at what you're paying. Maybe you can get those rates down. Call your credit card company and say, hey, I'm going through a challenge. Can you just lower my interest rate? And you'll find many times they will help you out just because you ask. My parents told me finding is reserved for those who search. You know what I mean? You got to go find this stuff. We'll help you. Number 10, eat out early, happy hour. Don't pay full price. You know, support the restaurants, you guys. A lot of them need it. But a lot of times you can save yourself money by doing happy hour stuff. I mean it. I love sushi. I won't pay full price because it's a big deal to go happy hour. Number 11, reevaluate your property and casualty insurance. Like we talked about earlier, when you look at changing that deductible, maybe you look at reevaluating it. Are you underinsured, overinsured? Are you with the wrong insurance company? I was with USAA for 20 years. And I said, no, I'm a military guy. They've taken care of me. Someone said, Rob, don't be so naive. And I saved myself 50% of savings on, I have my home and a rental. I saved 50% on each one on the insurance. And so you might want to reevaluate that on a regular basis. Again, there's tools to do that. Number 12, take a sack lunch. Stop eating out. Stop eating out. It's not freaking healthy. It's trash. Most of the food is trash, chemicals and all this crazy stuff. And I don't want to get on that kick and get into my health discussion with you. But the reality is it's also so expensive when you look at it. My friend said, you know what, Rob, I know you love places like Chipotle. You can get some fresh food, rice, chicken, whatever. And it's pretty good. It's pretty healthy, right? He says, you know what that costs you to make you? You know what rice costs to make at home and a thing of beans? He says, stop being so lazy. And so what's something that I did in our house, I shouldn't say me, my fiance takes way more credit than I can on this, is we try to meal prep and we try to have some food prepared for the week so we don't have to force ourselves to eat out every day. And it's a huge savings, okay? Number 13, cancel your gym membership if you're not going. Stop lying. Get out of your denial situation. If you're not doing it, cancel it. That doesn't mean you're a loser. You can always go back and get it. But some people, they're like, well, how do I cancel it? I'll feel bad. Come on, if you haven't been in 6 months, let's be honest. Save that money. Do some push-ups. Jump around your house. You know what I mean? There's a lot you can do without a gym. Okay? Number 14, cancel magazine subscriptions. If you have that, anything on automatic renewal, I would tell you there's a lot of things nowadays on automatic renewal on people's bank accounts. And so I challenge you, again, whether it's magazines or whatever, look into it. Number 15, this may not work where we live in Tucson, but we talk about carpooling. You know, if you live in Los Angeles, maybe that makes a lot of sense. I don't know how much that works around here. But number 16, do your own chores, dry cleaning, landscape, whatever. Now, if you've got issues and you can't do it, yeah, I get it. But, you know, if you're looking for ways to save money, pull your own weeds, you know, do your own stuff. I started doing my own dry cleaning, you know, rather than take it and spend $50 a month at the dry cleaner. I said, I could do this myself and take me 5 minutes to do it. Number 17, this is a big one. Adjust the temperature of your home. It's 107 when I pulled into the office an hour or so ago, coming back in. I recommend you guys get a smart thermostat for your home, a Nest learning thermostat, one of these high-tech thermostats. It's going to cost you $150, $200, totally worth it. I just got my energy bill, you guys, literally this week, $86, two-story home, no solar, 1,800 square feet, a good size home, $86, and it's been in the hundreds over here. So those thermostats will save you a lot of money if you really use them the right way. It's a big deal. Number 18, use coupons. Sometimes, you know, I shop at Fry's. We love the coupons. That may save you some cash. Who knows? Maybe not. Number 19, own a business. It's America, man. This country was built on, by the way, the tax system was built for the entrepreneur and the 1099, the business owner. If you don't own a business, you don't get any tax breaks. And if you live in America, they took away your mortgage deduction effectively by raising the standard deduction on your taxes. So most of us are not even getting that deduction anymore on our mortgage. the interest. So I highly advise you have a business, some sort of business. Maybe it's a financial business with us. Maybe it's something else, whatever you like, but you should have something going. Number 20, don't buy new cars. This is what it should say. New cars is the worst depreciating asset you could buy financially. And by the way, I love cars and I know what it feels like to buy a new one and drive around. I know the feeling of it, you guys, and I know some of you do as well, and maybe some of you don't, but I'm here to tell you the math doesn't make sense. That's an emotional decision. It should be based in logic, but people buy a car typically based on emotion. And I get it. You only live once. I totally get it. But listen, you can save a lot of money by buying used cars. I can give you a million examples. 21, play free video games. This may not affect a lot of you, but I know there's a lot of people spending 50, 60 bucks a month on games. 22, cut down on online subscriptions. People have all these monthly subscriptions. My neighbor has a box that comes every month or every week for her dog. And I love our dog, but cut down on that stuff. That might be a little bit excessive. Number 23, you should not be paying bank fees in the year 2020, you guys. So if you have a bank, a checking, a savings, and you say, oh man, I have all these charges, I'm going to ask you to get with it and let us steer you into a better bank. You should not be paying that stuff anymore. Again, carpooling, reducing gas, parking. We don't really have a lot of parking expenses where we live. Maybe that affects you, maybe it doesn't. 25, this is hard. We're almost at the end, you guys, of this list. Cut down on shopping. I challenge you to join the No Spend Club with Rob Roman. Literally, I'm not buying myself anything and I'm excited about it because I'm like, I don't really need anything. It's kind of exciting to see how long I can go without buying clothes because people buy this stuff typically to make themselves feel better. Maybe you can find a way to cut back on that stuff and find other ways to feel better about yourself. 26, this is hard. Spend less on other people. It seems every week, I'm invited to a birthday party, a wedding, some sort of event. And sometimes you feel obligated to buy people gifts. And I'm here to tell you, you're not obligated to do that. There's this expectations for people. And so if you're struggling, you don't need to be buying people gifts. Here's my question. If we sat down one-on-one at your kitchen table with all your stuff and went through these one by one, literally to the freaking line item, do you believe we can find $100? If you believe that, awesome. If you don't believe it, that's okay. I can probably prove you the other way. But let's pretend, just for the sake right now, that all of us have a $100 bill sitting on the table with us, okay? We're going to come back to that in a little bit. Let's pretend we came up with that. So the bottom line is this. It's wants versus needs. Cash flow is a decision. So looking at that exercise, again, we're going to talk about the number is $100 that we're going to talk about applying it to our debt. So it's really about taking control. And I know, a lot of times when I do this, we talk about this is behavior modification. It's really behaving in a different way. It's not easy. But take a look at this example, you guys. And I know this is in the book on page 11. It says taking control of your cash flow. The cost of wasting $6.60 a day at a 10% return in an investment fund, whatnot. There's some numbers on the screen for you. And I want you to take a look at that. 30 years later. $6.60 a day is $400,000. Maybe you can't save $6 a day, but maybe you can. How much money do you make per hour? Someone gave me an example a long time ago. If you want to change your life, do one simple thing starting tomorrow. One simple thing starting tomorrow. If you work 8 hours a day, every day out of those 8 hours, pay yourself 1 hour, whatever it is. Figure that out. If you're hourly, that's easy to figure out. If you're salary, it's pretty easy to figure out. You want to change your life every day, save 1 hour of your work, and you will radically change your life because that is a lot of money when you add it up. So it's about taking control, you guys. So let's go. The next 2 pages in the workbook, 12 and 13. This is about where is your money going. This, by the way, this sheet, if you're looking at it in your book, it can look intimidating. I don't want it to be intimidating for you. I want you just to look at it as I'm going to fill in the blanks of how much money I spend on certain areas. And we're going to try to figure a few things out here. Do you have a surplus or do you have a deficit? We have some suggestions on the screen about saving 10% for retirement because you're going to retire someday. You're going to get old someday. You got to do that thing. 10% for general savings, emergency savings, let's say, and maybe 10% for giving charity, people who need help. And a lot of people say, yeah, right, I would love to be able to do that with 30% of my money. No, I'm aware. Maybe you can't do that. But maybe you can, you know what I mean? And maybe you can change your habits. And so our focus is really finding, is there a surplus or is there a deficit? Most people would say, nope, there's no deficit. I make more than I spend every month. I would say, yeah, that probably makes sense. So does your bank account go up every month is the real question. Or does your savings go up every month is the real question. Because most people, they don't have a deficit, but their financial situation in this country, the trajectory of it does not tend to usually get better. So it's interesting, even though they don't have a deficit, they're not going up. That's what this sheet is about. It's about a monthly expense of where is your money going. The next page is about assets and liabilities for you to break it down. What do you have? And on the screen, there's some things you can fill in your workbook here about assets and liabilities and net worth. Just some terminology. What is an asset? Very simply, it's something that has monetary value. So technically, the computer I'm talking to you on has monetary value. It is an asset by definition. What is a liability? A liability would be a claim against that asset, a debt. So let's say this computer was financed. It's not, but let's say it was. Now it is a liability because there's a claim against it. I don't own it. Somebody else owns it until I pay off that debt. So if there's a debt, it is more than likely a liability. Net worth is the value of the assets minus the liabilities. So let's say, for example, your computer is worth $500, but you owe $200 on it. The net worth of that computer in your category is the $300. And so this worksheet gives you an asset and liability worksheet that I would challenge you to work on. If you have a house, if you have any savings or whatever, maybe you fill this in and you see what you're worth. Someone told me it's like your adult report card. If your net worth isn't growing, you're in trouble. And it's like a report card. And we should talk more about it as individuals and say, hey, what are you doing to get ahead in life? Because things are changing in this country very, very fast. And so we've got to do that. Again, don't let these worksheets intimidate you. And by the way, we're all here to help you, including myself, whether it's through Zoom or one-on-one, whatever. We'll help you fill all this stuff in and make sure you're getting it right, okay? And there's that worksheet right there on your screen as we were just talking about. Okay, so from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you've never read it, I would advise you, great book. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His definition of assets and liabilities is very simple. Assets put money in your pocket. By the way, we're not in the workbook in case you're wondering. And liabilities take money from your pocket. So it's very simple. It's a very simple concept. If you have something that's bringing money, it's an asset. If you have something taking money, it's a liability. But check this out. It says rich people buy assets and middle class buy liabilities, but they think they're assets. So imagine most households right here. It says a new car, the luxuries, all this stuff. And so really, you guys think about the average person in this country. Again, I'm not saying you can't have a new car. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, well, how do you do it? How do you get it? What's the best way to acquire these things? Because most people, they don't even give it any thought. They say having a car payment is normal. And I'm here to tell you it's not normal. I know a lot of people with no car payment for a very long time. A lot of people say, no, yeah, right. I could tell you tons of people don't. It's all of your perception, you guys. And so the name of the game, our focus is cutting down our debt and reducing our liability as we go. It's all going to come together for you, I promise. Commitment and discipline, you can do it, by the way. Just like I said, the gym and that diet, it's commitment and discipline. There's no secrets here. The good news is we can do this together and maybe push each other. So page 14. Imagine this. Living debt-free is a less stressful way to live. Imagine that, man. Imagine your life with none of those payments. Your same income today, but none of those payments. How would you feel? You know what I mean? You feel, wow, I'm in a pretty good spot if I got that same income and none of those bills. So you're already making the income, maybe. Just imagine a day when you had no debt payments and think about how much simpler it was. Again, the concept is real simple, you guys. And if you could use your income overall for building financial freedom, how much better would life look and feel? Someone said, and I acknowledge, that you cannot be the best version of yourself under financial pressure. You cannot be the best version of yourself under financial pressure. It's not real, man. It's not the same person. And so the world is a mess in a lot of ways, but financial illiteracy has become a real problem, and it's a very stressful thing for millions of households, millions of people, you guys. So let's talk about credit card debt. Some strategies for reducing it, okay? Number one, this is kind of basic. Don't get more debt. Live below your means. Get those credit cards out of your pocket. It's not an emergency fund. That's a bad strategy. And if someone sold you that as a good strategy, I would ask you, I don't think that's a good strategy. Using debt for emergency money is not a good strategy. We want to stay away from this stuff, and we're going to show you why. Using cash, debit, or prepaid credit cards, obviously. By the way, you can use your credit if you pay it off. There's a lot of people who do that for a lot of reasons, but not everybody does. Pay for what's necessary: food, mortgage, insurance, utilities. Find the things that are robbing you of your money, okay? Focus on the necessities. Focus on the things that are needed, and find out the areas that you're spending that are total wants and say, okay, this is a luxury if you really look at it, okay? Cut out unnecessary things. Again, whatever. I'm not saying cut off your cable, because that could be a little crazy for some people. You might lose your mind. Some statistics. By the way, these slides are outdated. I wish these would be updated. We're waiting on the compliance folks to do that. But I'll tell you, the debt is through the roof. This was saying 2.8 trillion of consumer debt. I'll tell you, it's out of whack. I would give you one web address to write down if you have a pen. usdebtclock.org, O-R-G, usdebtclock.org. I would love you to spend 3 minutes on this website tonight. It might blow your mind about the real debt situation in this country that is going to affect all of us, by the way. In the US, the average family owes $15,950 in credit card debt that they carry month by month by month by month. It's called modern day slavery. And the objective is for a person to get out of debt and begin living within their income means. If you're excessively in debt, that says you're spending more than you're making. That means you are living outside of your means of what your income can cover. I mean, think about it. They've commoditized loans. They've commoditized loans. They put this little plastic in your pocket, and it's literally a loan on, and anytime we want, we can get a loan, we can get a loan, we can get a loan. But a lot of times people don't see it as a loan. They just see it as a normal way of paying their stuff. So what can people do? One of the things we say is freeze them. And I mean it in two ways. I mean, literally take your credit cards, go to the dollar store, get a little metal cup or something like this and put those cards in that, fill it with water, put it in your freezer, freeze that thing, man, because you ain't gonna be able to get it open if you need it. That's one way. It's a little excessive, I'm not gonna lie. But what you could do is you could freeze a credit line. You could call the creditor and say, hey, Mr. Chase, Mr. JP Morgan, whatever, you guys keep offering me more credit. Update your income, Rob, so we'll give you more credit. You should tell them, hey, note my account, freeze my credit line. Do not offer any higher credit limits, because that can maybe keep you out of trouble. So again, contact them and ask them to do that. That's a very common thing. They will all do that for you. Very simple. The second one is really just be disciplined, you guys. Take them out of your pocket, take them out of your purse, put them away. I know that's hard for some of you to think about. But you got to do that. You really got to, this is about discipline. You got to get them away from yourself. We are our own worst enemy in most situations. So here's some true false. Page 15, 16 of the workbook. We're on, actually on page 15 right now. It says, once a credit line is paid off, it's a good idea to close the account. You get Macy's, zero balance, close the account or just let it sit. What do you guys think? The answer is it's false. It's not a good idea to close it because that could potentially hurt your credit. Could potentially lower your score, and your score may be important. You don't need to write that whole paragraph. Basically, you need to write, it's going to lower your credit score if you close that account, because they look at the history and the length that you've had that account. Hopefully you guys are doing okay and following along. Did you know the average family spends about 25% of their income on taxes and about 10% on servicing debt? So think in these terms. That's 35% of people's income before the month even begins. And a lot of people, it's much more than that. And this is why people are in trouble. So we've got to have a plan to change these numbers and change the situation. Let's do an exercise, okay? If you will, put your pen down, and I would love for you to take your hands, just like you'd see on the screen, and just clasp your fingers together like this. Very simple, okay? Very, very simple, nothing complex here. And I want you to take a note of which thumb is on top. My left thumb is on top. What I would like you to do is reverse the order of your fingers to where the other thumb is on top, and just go the other way. And I want you to think about, it actually doesn't even feel right. How does it feel for you? It feels weird, right? Let's do a different one. I think this is even on the screen. Yeah, it is. Cross your arms. I wish I could stand up so we could see this. I wish I could see you guys because I can't see anybody other than myself in the PowerPoint. Cross your arms and now cross them the other way. It don't feel right. It's so weird. If you wear lipstick, ladies, do you always start, actually some men, equal opportunity, do you start at the same side of your mouth every time? Men, when you shave, do you shave at the same place every time? Every one of you, when you woke up this morning and got in the shower, was the sequence of the soap, body wash, conditioner, whatever, was it in the same sequence as it was the day before? You're like a robot. Check it out. Everything we do is we're a creature of our habits. You can literally turn over like 60% of your day to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, you don't need to think about what to do when you get in the shower. You don't need to think about that. So here's the point, you guys. Are you a creature of habit when it comes to your money? You have good habits or bad habits? And most people have terrible habits, and that's the problem. And so it's really coming to reality, realizing, man, it's up to us. It's up to us and our habits that we have, okay? All right, let's keep going because there's my favorite part of the workshop is about to start in a few seconds here. So people's spending habits, what's the true cost of debt? 2 main bullet points for you real quick. You're paying a lot of interest to other people, and that money is not working for you. You're paying $200-300 a month on credit card payments. Man, that's $200-300 a month that could be working for you and piling up for you and earning interest for you. So it's a very big cost to have a lot of debt. Maybe you've heard of the rule of 72. We're going to spend more time on this in the investment workshop, that workshop number 3. But the rule of 72 says this. It's divide 72. This is a math formula, a little math, not that hard, by your interest rate. Okay, 72 divided by your interest rate. That's easy. The result is the number of years it will take for your debt or investment to double. So let's do some examples here. This is saying a 4% rate of interest. 72 divided by 4, by the way, this is in the workbook. 72 divided by 4 is 18. That means if you're earning 4% interest on your money, every 18 years, your money will double. Let's do another one. What if you're earning 8%? Well, 72 divided by 8, your money's going to now double every 9 years. You cut the doubling period in half. Interesting. What if you get 12%? 72 divided by 12, 6 years. Your money can grow real fast. Now, also think about this if you have a credit card. It says if you have a credit card that has an interest rate of 18%, how long will it take before the debt doubles? Many of you have experienced this personally. 4 years. So assuming someone's not making a payment, they've got an 18% rate of interest, it's working against them. And so this is why this is one reason why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, you guys, is they don't understand how interest works. And I know this may be the first time you've ever seen that. You may be a person, you go, oh, I'm not a good math person, whatever. I'm just here to tell you there are really simple things that you can look at and be like, wow, okay, the name of the game is I need to make my money earn more interest for me so it can grow faster, and this rule can work for you, and my debt needs to be at lower interest if possible so it can work less against me. Okay, we're going to talk more about that as we go. And again, this is just an example. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through this, but this basically shows you guys that 2 different people, for example, I'll just leave this one on the screen. This is an 8% and 12%. So it's only a 4% difference. And the 30-year-old with 4,000 on the left and the 30-year-old with 4,000 in the middle, look at the end result at 66 years old. Wait a minute. One guy has 64,000, the other has 256,000, and the only difference is 4% more interest? That doesn't even sound right. It's so powerful, you guys. So Albert Einstein, who came up with this rule, says it is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Most people, it works against them. The rich people, it's working for them. And so the name of the game is turning this around. So again, an 18% example here just shows a giant number of 2 million. But we're going to talk more about that in the investment class because I really want to focus on what we're about to get to, my favorite part of the workshop, called debt roll-up. Okay, this is a powerful concept, and if you learn nothing tonight, you guys, this is a great concept, right? And it's super effective, totally works, easy to understand. If you use a credit counseling service, you've seen these things on the radio. Hey, we can help you get out of debt, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes those are good, but here's what happens to you. It messes up your credit. It really messes up your credit. And for some people, they're not interested in their credit getting messed up. So we say, is there another way to get out of debt, rather than calling some service and say, hey, Mr. Debt, can you help me get out of this thing? There's a common sense principle that's not so common sense called debt roll-up. Debt roll-up. Debt roll-up begins, number one, by increasing our cash flow. Now let's press time out for a second. Do you remember a little bit ago, I said you have a $100 bill next to you because there was 26 things that we went through and we found $100. So we started by increasing our cash flow by finding that $100, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a strategy. We're gonna have an attack plan, you guys. We are going to attack the smallest debt first, based on the balance, not the interest rate. I'm gonna do an example, okay? Just so you get it. What is the effect of this payment schedule? So let's just pull this up so you can see everything on the screen. And there's actually two charts here, and I wanna get to the second one because it has everything pre-filled in for us right here. Let's look at it. So this shows on the left, we have a list of our debts, starting with our mortgage, the biggest debt, down to the smallest debt, which is Macy's of $150. The second column, the total of our monthly payments right there, $2,186. By the way, here's something I want to mention before I go on, before I forget. These are assuming the minimum monthly payments. So you can look at the screen, for example, it says Sears, Target, Macy's at the bottom there. Minimum monthly payment, 25, 25, 26. A lot of people pay 30, 30, 40. They do what's called sprinkling. They put extra on each one. It's a big mistake, you guys. It is a really big mistake. I want you to pay the minimum on everything, and all that extra sprinkle money, every dime of it, I want you to add that with your 100. And we're going to focus on the smallest one, and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? We look at the right. It says the longest debt of basically 29 years till everything is paid, because the mortgage being the longest, saying that we have 348 more payments left, basically 30 years. So let's look at it. What if we add that extra $100? That's it. So before this, we didn't have the 100. Now we have the 100. We're going to focus on the smallest debt, which is our friend Macy's. In Macy's, we normally pay them $25. That is the minimum. And what we're going to do, you guys, is rather than pay the minimum, we're going to take that 100 and add it to the minimum. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that $150 Macy's bill, and rather than 6.4 payments, Macy's is going to be out of our life because we're going to pay them $125, the minimum of 25, plus that extra 100. And our new payoff month count is 1.2. As you see, $125 goes in. Man, we only owe them $25 more next month, and that's done. So here's what happens. 1.2 months into this, you feel some psychological success, and you go, wow, that's pretty good. Macy's, I think they're bankrupt, and now they're out of my life. Thank God. You shouldn't have that thing. And rather than 6.4 payments, 1.2 payments, it's out of my life. Now you look at your honey at home and you say, hey, honey, what's next? Because now we don't have to pay that $125 anymore to Macy's. So what we do is we focus on Target. I like Target. You know, I guess I like Target. We'll keep going there. We pay them our minimum of 25. And here's what we're going to do. We roll the 125, all that amount, because that's what we're paying on Macy's. So we basically, nothing slips through. That 125 plus 25 equals 150. Check it out. 25.4 scheduled payments, you guys, now becomes 4.7. So now, 6 months into our exercise, 2 of your debts are at 0 with $100 extra a month. It's pretty powerful. What if we continue this? We look at Sears. They're bankrupt too. $26. We're going to roll that 150. We now pay 176. 36 months of payments. 3 years is now 8.4 months. It's magical. Nordstrom, we're going to keep on following the exercise. You see what happens. I think you get the gist of this already. We just continue to roll it up and roll it up and roll it up. And let me summarize for you the outcome, because it's powerful. You say, okay, it looks like everything gets paid off much sooner. Let's do the math. Let's do the math, you guys. Remember, if this was a $100 difference a month. That was it. No extra money, $100. 29 years of what I call slavery, because these are a lot of payments. Imagine your life with no payments. 29 years of slavery is now reduced because we put $100 extra to 12.2 years, including that home, including that car, including that credit card, including that, all that stuff. So what's the effect of the savings? The math, check this out, page 17. The current debt was $225. Well, that's going to stay the same. We didn't put any more debt on there. Our monthly payment, again, we pay $100 extra, nothing psycho. Our real debt, we save $120,000 of interest because you were going to pay $450 based on those schedules. Now you pay $332. In 29 years, down to 12.2. It's freedom, you guys. Again, I love that exercise because the average family who's got debt, loan, car, credit card, Visa, Victoria's Secret, whatever it might be, it's like, let's put a plan together to get out of it. And maybe you don't have 100, maybe you have 50. It's okay. But maybe you have $300-400 a month that you could put towards your debt. And so I'm here to tell you, debt roll-up is powerful because you can wipe things out, including that mortgage, okay? And so we challenge you to come up with a plan. I challenge you, if you have debt, get a whiteboard at your home, go to the dollar store, get one of those white poster boards, and take a chart like this and put it up on the board in the house so you and your family can look at it and talk about it. This stuff is like taboo. People don't talk about money at home. It doesn't make sense. The number one cause of divorce, money problems. But people don't talk about money. It don't make any sense. People spend more time planning the wedding than they do the marriage. And the number one cause of divorce is money. It's like, think about this, you guys. We can fix some of our own problems. Again, here at WSP, we believe it's important to create good habits, getting out of debt, and saving money at the same time. And so we're going to shift the subject to what's called an emergency fund, the tail end of our workshop. We got a few more pages to go. What is an emergency fund? Very simple. There's a lot of things, COVID, pandemic, crisis. I mean, there's people evacuating their homes right now in Tucson because of this fire. It's crazy. There's emergencies happening all around us. And the reality is the car breakdown, the health problem, the leaky roof, the broken air conditioner when it's 110 degrees, it's going to happen. So you've got to have an emergency fund. And so we'd like for people to have a strategy how to do that. Okay? It says, reasons for an emergency, there's a million of them. There's a lot on the screen here. I'll tell you, you can have anything you like on there. Major car repairs, major home repairs, appliances, illness. All my family lives across the country, so I could have to get on an airplane like that. If I don't have the money in an emergency fund, how do I pay for that plane ticket sometimes? Oh, just run the credit card. So you see how these work together? So the emergency fund and getting out of debt, they work together. The point is, you need to have a fund set aside. How do we do it? How do we do it? Very simple, basic rule of thumb. 3 to 6 months of your living expenses or your monthly income, whatever you prefer. 3 to 6 months of your living expenses or 3 to 6 months of your monthly income, whatever you prefer. It's a lot of money, however you calculate it. So that could be overwhelming for people. And so it's not. Let's keep it simple. Goal number 1, if you haven't done this, I want you to do this. Start on it tonight. Save $1,000. Maybe you've done it, maybe you haven't. Maybe that'll take you a week, maybe it take you a year. Don't be discouraged by it. Save $1,000, okay? Number 1, save 1,000. We can help you do that. Number 2, get it to 3 times, either the expenses or the income. So project number 1, $1,000. Project number 2, that's a bigger project, you guys. That might take us some time, 3 months. Number 3, 6 months, very simple. You can't go wrong having 6 months of an emergency fund, because if you lose your job, you say, hey, it's okay. If something goes wrong, you say, it's okay, I can pay the bill. But if you lose your job and you can't pay the bill, it's crisis. The worst version of the people come out because they're under financial pressure. So an emergency fund is a critical thing that all of us need to have in place, okay? Good options of where to put those funds. People say, okay, I've been trying that, Rob. I put my money in the bank and my problem is I take it right out. Because the bank is what's called a put and take account, not a put and keep account. You got to keep the money there. Don't put it in there if you're going to keep yanking it out. Here's a couple options. Number 1, what's called low risk mutual funds. We can teach you about that. Basically, you can put that emergency money to work for you just so you can get some interest on it. I'll tell you, I looked at my emergency fund earlier this week. It's made 13, 14% interest on my emergency savings. And I go, What the heck? The bank doesn't even pay a fraction of that. So you can find some good funds like that we could teach you how to do that. Another way could be a money market fund, a guaranteed interest account. Your bank probably doesn't pay any interest. There are accounts that pay interest, you guys. You don't need to be a millionaire to have those things. You just need to know how to get access and how to find them. And so we want to help you find that stuff. The third way, very simple, just a separate bank account. I don't care. It could be just a separate checking account without online or debit access. It shouldn't be linked to your checking account. Because if you check your checking account and then you see this other value, it's going to mess with your mind if you go to Dillard's and all the shoes are on clearance or something crazy like that. So you've got to keep them really separate. I really recommend keeping it not linked to the same debit card. So let's talk about some final thoughts here as we summarize. Would you be willing to be disciplined with spending to live the rest of your life debt-free? I am trying to sell you the dream, man, of becoming totally debt-free and financially independent at any income level. People can do it. It's inspiring when you see people make a move and they say, you know what, we did it. I was with a family earlier today that they told me they paid off like $20,000 of debt over the past 6 months, a young couple with 2 kids. They said, man, we really got serious. And so are you willing to do that? We say cash is king or queen, whatever you prefer, whatever your denomination is here, but cash is king. Debt is not king. All flash, no cash, that's not king. Nice house, nice car, but you broke, that's not king, man. Who are we fooling? We're trying to impress people, man. I don't really even get it. I'm not interested in keeping up with the Kardashians. I'm not interested whatsoever. Maybe it's time for you to perform plastic surgery on your credit cards. Maybe we come back on this Zoom meeting and we get everybody on camera and we do a little credit card, cut up ceremony. You can do it on camera and we'll celebrate for you or whatever. It's cool. Again, summary, buy things that you need, not what you want. We've said that. Because at the end of the day, let's put some thought to it. Who you go to work for? I'm 41 years old. I'm 42 years old in literally a couple months. My parents are, my dad's 75. Life is short. Life is real short. If you're lucky to live till 80 years old, you will sleep for 26 of those years. I would like you to do the math if you think about that one. You get a lot less time than you think. And I want to ask you, who are you going to work for every day? Grinding and sacrificing? Is it your employer, the government, these other people? Because if you don't get the benefit, if you're not paying yourself first, and your financial situation is not changing, it's merely you're doing something wrong. And it might be 1 or 2 little things. And I really believe change is right around the corner for most of us. So just change your thinking when it comes to making money and how you spend money. So there is a paragraph here on page 19, and I would love for you, just for the sake of me not having to read a large paragraph on camera, it's a little challenging to do. I would love you to read page 19 for homework, because it really talks about a person's mental state when they have savings. It talks about they're a different person. I've mentioned that a couple times tonight, but I really would like you to read that page, you guys, because it really demonstrates the difference of how people behave when they have savings. They are different human beings. So again, page 19, just for the sake, if we were in a group, I would volunteer somebody to read this out loud. So since we're not, I'm gonna give it to you for homework, okay? We'll talk about one more idea as we wrap up. We know there's one way of increasing cash flow called spending less. We know the other way is earning more. Earning more income. I believe most households have given thought, man, I wish I could make extra income, even if it's $200, $300, $400, $500. Doesn't have to be a lot of money. I want to share with you a little bit about our financial campaign and earning extra income, talking about being a business owner. I don't know if you've ever seen this diagram before called E, S, B, and I. By the way, this is on page 20 of the workbook. This is from a book also by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant. This is what it says. There's 4 ways to make money in this country. Most of us are in one or even multiple of these categories. E, very simple. We know what E stands for. That is employees. And employees have a job. Some people have joked with me when I had a job, they said journey of the broke or just over broke. It kind of pissed me off when they said that, I'm not gonna lie, because I was broke. And I didn't like it, I really didn't. And they said, Rob, employees sell their time for a predetermined dollar amount. And he said, I want you to really give thought to that. He says, you will not find a lot of people in the world who get wealthy by selling their time for a predetermined dollar amount, unless they're an athlete or an entertainer or something like that. S is what's called self-employed. And now you own the job. These are real estate agents, insurance agents, people who are, a doctor and maybe a little attorney, maybe working for themselves in a little business. They basically work for themselves. They're self-employed. They had a job. Now they own the job. If they don't work, they don't make money. If a doctor takes a 6-month vacation, the doctor doesn't make money. That's one way to make money, self-employed. It's kind of scary for a lot of people. B stands for business owner. This is where you own a business. You have a system in place and you have people, you have a system, you have a machine that's running in the background and it's working for you. If you owned a franchise of, coffee shops or something like that, you'd be traveling with your family, living your dream, saying, yeah, I have a system in place and all those locations are selling that coffee and you have a business in place. That's another way you can live. And I is what's called investor. This is where money works for you. This would be a goal, by the way, for all of us, because here's the reality. Most of us don't have a pension coming for us in the future. And most of us are going to live exclusively on our savings at a certain point of our life. That and Social Security, which ain't much money. And so you've got to become an investor where money works for you. The left side of this quadrant is about 80% of the people in North America with very few tax advantages. The right side is, interestingly enough, only 20% of the people with many tax advantages. And so, again, I'm not a tax advisor. I'm an airplane mechanic converted into a financial educator, a licensed advisor, whatever you want to call it. But I tell you, I found the tax advantages for employees and most self-employed people are not quite there in realms of what's available. And so there's just some ways for people to increase their cash flow by potentially doing that. So we don't know where people want to fit in for the rest of their life. But we challenge people's thinking to not exclusively label themselves in the E quadrant. Everybody's an employee. I challenge you to follow your dream, whatever that might be. Maybe own your own business someday or work for yourself someday, whatever it might be. Because we remember time is money. So we close our meeting tonight with just the idea of our business in the financial education industry, you guys. There is a major, I've never seen anything like it in my life, of such an opportunity to help families and help individuals and business people in the community learn about how money works, learning about this stuff. So we challenge people, maybe start a part-time business, maybe learn about this thing, starting part-time, get a license, get into the education world, helping one family per month. We look at it, what if you had an extra $1,000 a month of income and then we could give you a strategy of what to do with that money? And so it's something that's really, really powerful, you guys, of being able to go out there and educate people and earn income while learning that process. And so, again, we deeply need help, especially here in Tucson, because we have a big need to help a lot of families. And so some of the potential tax benefits as we wrap up, you guys, there's a lot of them. Again, this is not a tax class, but as you can see on the screen, it mentions travel. It mentions entertainment. Again, I'm not here to give you tax recommendations. But if you're a business owner and you go buy a new iPhone, excuse me, you could potentially deduct that on your income taxes. If you're a W-2 employee in the E quadrant only, you can more than likely not deduct an iPhone on your income taxes. And so I believe there's 187 categories of tax deductions that open up for people that we want people just to be aware of. And they can obviously do whatever they want to do with that in the future. And so putting some savings in their pockets. So as we wrap up, page 22, you guys, we're going to end with some thoughts. And we're right on time here at 7:34. And it says you can learn and earn in the financial industry. Maybe you like the idea of earning income. Maybe you're just here to learn. We're okay with that either way. But maybe you know of somebody who needs to make extra income right now. We would love to talk to them. Like I said, we would love to talk to those people. The idea for you to become your own money manager, this 30 million financially educated family campaign is for people to become better at managing their own money. So they're getting ripped off less in many of these situations that we see. You can become a financial professional, never thinking it's possible. Check it out, you guys. Make money, save money, grow money, and preserve your money. making money and then making money work for you. Imagine making more money and then making that money work for you. Remember, what separates the rich people and the poor people? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Why is that the statement? I think the rich people make money work for them and everybody else is trying to figure it out. So 4 wealthy habits as we summarize. This is a little redundant. We've already said all of this. We've already said all of it, but in closing, number 1, spend less and save more. That was our theme tonight, okay? Number 2, earn more. Maybe you can get a pay raise. Maybe you can do something with your degree to make more money at your profession. Maybe you can do something on the side. Maybe you can do that and turn it on and get your debt paid down. Number 3, maybe you become a business owner to some extent, whatever world that would be in. And number 4, become an investor. Get to a place where you're saving and building wealth for the future and you're taking advantage of what's going on in the world around us. And so as we end, you guys, it says financial independence is not a dream. It is a decision. It is a real decision. And so let me give you some homework as we wrap up, you guys, here on page 22. Let's see, I've already said all this. Here we go. Homework. By the way, it's not a lot of homework. It's actually pretty simple. Number 1, complete the worksheets. Please, you guys, when it comes to the debt and the debt roll-up, please do that. You don't have to do this. Nobody's going to check it. Nobody's going to come after you and look at you and go through this. But we want to go through it with you if you feel that would be beneficial. I can tell you it's much more likely you're going to work out harder if you have a trainer with you. I know one of our great friends, Leslie, she's talking about, oh, I have a personal trainer. Man, I'm so sore. And I go, yeah, because that trainer's probably working you good. And so the reality is we can help you if you want the help. Again, sit down with us, go into a financial strategy. But again, the one thing I want to give you is the reading assignment of pages 1 to 15 of what's called Saving Your Future. You may have it, you may not. If you don't have it, please get with the person that invited you. The book looks like this. As you can see, it's thin, it's big print, it's easy to read. We've got them in English, that's Chinese, Mandarin, Vietnamese. We've got them in Spanish, whatever you want. It ties all the info together, you guys. And so if you wouldn't mind doing the reading, it's awesome. And maybe you can think of somebody that can benefit from this. That's the one thing we ask, is just that you pay it forward. Again, we're not charging people for this. We're not charging them for the time. We're not charging them for the workbooks or the material or any of it. Just pay it forward, because again, we're in the era, you guys, of like organic growth in our community to help families get ahead financially. And so again, the next class, workshop number 2, building a strong financial foundation, proper protection. That is scheduled for next Tuesday. It is an awesome, awesome workshop, you guys, taking something that is typically a complicated, complex subject and simplifying it to where it makes sense for you so you can ask yourself better questions about your insurance and your protection situation. And so hopefully you found some value in tonight. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you maybe learned another way to share it with people. And again, I appreciate the time. If anybody has any questions, we'll stick around for a few minutes. If not, God bless you. Thank you for your time, and we'll see everybody again on Thursday next week, okay? We'll stick around for a few if you got any questions. If not, God bless. Have a good night.